guys, this is Mark. In this video, I will talk about and demonstrate the new API we added in Backendless, which provides the data grouping functionality. Grouping data in Backendless was available right from the version 1.0. However, the new functionality that you will see in a moment is far more advanced. Previously, you could request data to be grouped by some criteria and then aggregated in those groups and so on. However, the new functionality that I will be talking about provides a way to do groups of groups to the nth level. And there was no capability to structure a query to do that previously, but now there is, and it works great. Let me demonstrate what inspired us to make that API available. So as you know, we do have a capability to create views. Views are virtual tables that you can create that grab data from multiple related tables. So let's create a view, and I will demonstrate the grouping functionality. And then using that, it's sort of the inspiration, I will walk you through of how the actual grouping API works to achieve many of the same things that views provide, but you can actually use those APIs in your applications for whatever the needs are. So here on my screen, you see a table called products, actually product. And the schema of this table is very simple. There is a column called category, name, price, rating, and that's the most important ones. So basically, it's a list of products, and every single product belongs to a category. So let's create a view from that table to really see how grouping would work. And to create a view, right on the data screen, I'm going to click this plus button, select view, and I will name my view products view. So now here, this is a list of all the tables that I have in my application. I will look for the product table. And then here's my product table. And in here, I will select category, I'll select name, price, rating, and object ID. Okay, so that's my view. So in this case, the view is not very different than the actual table. However, views have some additional capabilities that regular tables don't. So I'm going to save this view, and now we go to data browser. And then you see there's this group by link or menu item, and I'm going to group this data by category. Okay, so now the data is grouped by categories. As you can see, I have these four categories, and then each category has the products. But not only this, I can continue grouping the data. So I can also say, well, also group it by rating. And then if I apply, so now I have this, let's say, category gadget. And then all the data is now grouped not only by categories, but by ratings. Rating 4, we have these, maybe more than that. Actually, let's just select, yeah, all of these products, they have rating 4 and are located in the category gadget. And I can go on and on and on to create additional groups that would be nested. So this is a very good demonstration of the nested grouping functionality. And then the question is, well, how do you recreate the same kind of effect of retrieving data from the database that is grouped by one or more columns? And that is exactly where the grouping API comes into play, because using the grouping API, the new grouping API that I will be talking about, you can retrieve data that has exactly the same structure as it is visualized in my view. So how do you go about using this API? If you use UI Builder, which is what I will use because it makes things a lot more visual, then there is a codeless block that will retrieve all of the data. And then the codeless block can be used, of course, In the server-side logic, if you were building your own API services, that would be returning data to your own custom UI if you're not using UI Builder. And that is absolutely okay, so that the API is not tied to UI Builder. You can use it anywhere. So, but I will use the UI Builder because it makes it so much easier to demonstrate the power of that API. So here I will switch to UI Builder. And in my UI Builder, I already have a page called Group Demo. Uh, you can create this page very, very easy by creating. Let's just let me demonstrate how you can do this. So if you in UI Builder, if you click New Page, and then in the Create From, select Marketplace, and we will name the page Grouping API. And then in the Marketplace, if you scroll down, you will see this one. Grouping API demo. So this is already a page template that has all of the functionality that you need to use the grouping API. Then click create, and it will create this page that I started with. So this page provides the same kind of functionality of providing demonstrating the grouping API by working with the same product table. And if you don't have this table, and obviously more than likely you will not have this table, if you were to go to uh, the listing of that page template in the marketplace. So let me just step back and demonstrate where you can get the data for this page. So if you go to the marketplace, and then in the user interface, you select page templates. And on these page templates, you will locate this grouping API demo. In here in the description, there is a link to a CSV file that you can download and import into your table, into your database, to get that product table that this specific page from the marketplace will work with. So once you do this and you get that page from the marketplace, it will just work out of the box. But let's take a look how that page works, and then we will dissect the actual implementation so you can understand that API better. So back in UI Builder, grouping API page, I will just run it and show you what it does. So here it displays a category, gizmo, and then I can collapse it. There's category gadget, basically exactly the same four categories that we had in the view. And then in every category, all the products are also grouped by rating, and they're just displayed here. So to understand how it works, it would be important to take a look at the structure of the response that comes back from Backendless whenever you make this API call. So for this, I'll just reload this page. And in here, we see this is the API request that goes to Backendless. This is the API REST route. And then in the payload, we say, well, group by category and rating. And then there are some additional parameters, all of which are documented, and they are in our API documentation. What's important here is to take a look at the actual response. And then the preview tab shows the structured response. So in here, at the very first level of nesting, there is an element in the JSON response called items. And as you can see, it has four objects in that items. Each object corresponds to the first level of grouping, okay, which is the category. So let's take a look at the first one. So here we have group by object, which names the actual column that it's being grouped by, which is category, and the value of that category. So this is going to be grouped by uh, gizmo, which is the name of the category. And then the items property will have a list of all the objects that belong to that specific group. Now, those objects are actually going to be second level grouping, which is the rating. So, and you can actually see right here, rating, and then the value 4.6. So if we expand the first one, it's going to be, again, grouped by name of the column, the value, and then items in this case is an array of the actual objects that belong to that column, which is rating, which in turn also belong to the group uh, that matches the category, which is gizmo. Okay, so as you can see, it is a nested structure where at the first level, it is a collection of objects that identify the group of the first level. Each of those will have a collection of objects, which is the group of the second level, and each of those will have a collection of the actual data objects that belong to those nested groups. So with this, now that you see this structure, I'm going to keep this open and we will go back and forth between UI Builder and this response structure just so you can see how that data is being processed in UI Builder to render it in the UI. So here, first of all, at the page level, so I selected page, let's navigate to the logic behind this page. And in the on-page enter, you'll see that there is this logic, which essentially retrieves grouped data into the application. All of that magic, I would say, happens right in this codeless block. And in here, we specify that we're retrieving data from the product table and we're grouping it by category and then by rating. Okay, so and then here you can have just one level of grouping, two, three, it doesn't matter. It can be nested to the nth degree. And then here I say that individual objects that I retrieve, all I care about are the columns that are called name and price. And in fact, in here, whenever we render data, there is name and there is price. So that's the data that came back. Okay. Then what I do is at the highest level, I go and I get the value for the property called items. And in this case, that's at the highest level. So this is the root of the returned object. I'm getting these items. So this collection is what I'm returning it from here. And I'm assigning this collection to my repeater responsible for the categories. Okay, so that's what happens. And as a result of this, in the UI, I do have this block that actually container called categories. Okay, well, it's block and it is a repeater. So whatever's inside it will start replicating to render the collection that it received. Here, this text label has uh, content logic called group by dot value. Now, this group by dot value comes from this group by property and then value. So it will get the name of the actual category. So this group by and then value data binding will result in the actual category names rendered right here. So here in the UI, as you can see, here's Gizmo, and then we have gadgets. So all of those are being retrieved from that level. So in fact, we get this Gizmo gadget widget and so on retrieved from group by value. So that's how we get the name of the categories. Now, the next element in this high level, first level repeater is going to be another block called ratings. Okay, and this ratings is also marked as the repeater. Let's take a look at where it gets its own value so it can start rendering things. And it gets this value from a property called items. As you can see, here is the data binding to items. So this items refers to, if I expand one of them, right to this collection. You see, every single element here contains property items. So these items are the ones that are being fed right into this repeater, uh, which is the second level repeater block called ratings. And then inside of that second level block, I also have property that renders the actual rating. And I do have a data table that visualizes individual objects that belong to that specific rating and then to the specific category. So on this data table, it's something that's sort of a trick how to get the data because the data comes back as one collection and we just want to display it in the individual data tables. If I go to the logic, then I'm using this on records request event handler. And then on records request, it needs to return an object that has properties count and items. Okay, that's just how it works. So in here, I get the items, which is the second level items. Specifically, it is going to be, just collapse all of these guys. So if we go here, this items is the actual the second level, and then these items are the objects that are being rendered. So these items at the second level are the ones that will be returned to the data table. And I also get the length of the same collection because it needs to know how many there are. And as a result, this data table is also going to be populated. And that's it. So that's all the logic that is there. And then you can collapse and expand. There is some additional logic just to hide it and so on. You can see it in the logic of the page. But as you can see, the functionality of returning groups of groups is made possible with UI Builder, and that's just one single block that retrieves all of that data. And that is what I wanted to demonstrate to you. This API is also available in all of our SDKs, JavaScript, iOS, Android, Flutter, .NET, and of course, it is available in Codeless that you can use both in UI Builder and in the Cloud Code. I hope you find this useful. There's definitely use cases out there for this API. It is quite advanced, but and quite powerful. I'm glad that we're able to simplify just putting it into a single codeless block. Thank you for watching this video, and as always, happy coding with Backendless.